Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Get Your Life. My name is Dr. Parsons, and I'm here with you every Wednesday where we taking on them topics, talking about those things that you need to break through them chains so you can live free. I'm so glad that you're here with me. Thank you for joining me every week. This is just such an honor for me. Let's jump into it. Let's see what we talk about today. This week we are talking about how to do self-care right. And I'm going to talk about, everything that's gotten in the way, everything that makes it hard. And I'm going to talk about why I still use the word. Why? Because some people have just thrown it out altogether and are like, you know what? Forget this term. It doesn't actually serve us. But I think there's something still there. So I'm going to talk you through that piece. So stick with me. I'm going to break down the 3 steps. If you're here with me every week, I give you exactly what I do, right? Because that's what Authentically Me is all about. I'm here to teach you what I use in my actual life to live free, right? Because we all got to live free. If somebody's still in shackles, we all in shackles. Hi, Miss Beverly. Where you at in the world? Miss Beverly's my neighbor, y'all, and you talk about living free. Now, she packed her bags and been all over the world, so she could teach us some lessons, I'm sure. I'm so glad that you're here. I got Miss Beverly on Instagram and my mom on Facebook, y'all. Real support comes from those that raised us. I love both of you. Okay, if you are new to this episode, this series, please make sure you are following me, Authentically Me _live free. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm live on both now. That's why you see me looking all around. I be trying to make eye contact with both my audiences. So I love y'all. Don't mind me if you see me going from one screen to the other. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I just joined on Twitter. If you know me, you know that I am young and technologically challenged. It takes me a little bit of time to get adjusted to, these new platforms. So I'm tweeting now. I'm trying to keep up and figure out, how to connect all those worlds. So I'm glad that for those who have found me there, I'm glad, to be. So who am I? Why do I care? Why is Authentically Me here, right? Like, what is this all about? I for years lived caged in. I lived in this world where on the outside I was living up to other people's expectations of what I should be doing, the life I should be living, the milestones I should be achieving. And I was, outwardly successful. Don't get me wrong. But inwardly, there was just always things that were awry, right? I didn't have peace. Internally, I was, stressed and depressed and, just knew that I wasn't living up to all that I could be. That yes, this world on the outside, that people were singing my praises and telling me, how proud they were. And I knew there was more for me. I knew that couldn't just be it, right? And I remember talking to people saying, like, I just wish I could, unleash, right? Like, that's why I say caged in, because there felt like there was something in me that I had to let free. And that would be, my divine kind of path, my purpose on this plane, right? When I no longer felt confined, right? And even though I knew that was in there, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to free it. I didn't know how to find that peace. I just knew that it was there, right? And then, I had this tragic experience of losing my partner. He was killed in a car accident 3.5 years ago now. And if you've ever experienced something like that, where your life is just, everything that you know of your life is taken from you, right? It's just like, at least for me, I was just thrown into the air, just thrown into an abyss of pain. And through being forced to heal through that, right? Because I made the choice that I was going to live, which meant I had to heal through that, right? What I found was, in healing through the intensity of that pain, I was also shedding all the other layers of pain that I had been holding on to in my life, right? Part of those things that were keeping me trapped, keeping me confined. Those things like expectations, right? Those things like living up to other people's standards. Those things like shaping my life the way I thought other people wanted it to look, right? When you're in that much pain, you don't have the energy for that. It's like, you know what? Breathing takes enough out of me. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. Living up to what you want me to be, that's beyond my scope. And what I realized was when I let those things go, that's when I felt that my insides kind of being free. That's where I felt that peace that I had been yearning for. It was like, oh, if I kind of settle in and then align myself, right, and live for me, allow my actions to be guided by what I want internally, like that's where that freedom comes from that I had been yearning for. And so in my healing, like I said, I found this place of peace, right? And I found what it means to center myself. So when we talk about self-care, that to me is true self-care. It's centering yourself in your journey. And I'm gonna break it down a little more. Don't worry. That's not gonna be it. But just so you know, the foundation of the definition for me, it is to center oneself in your life journey. Okay, that is true self-care. All right. So we're gonna talk about how to do self-care right. And why do we even need an episode like this? What's the purpose? The reason is self-care now it's like such a buzz term that it's really lost its meaning, right? So what you'll see now, most people, most organizations, most things that are like pushing self-care, they're really marketing. It's a marketing scheme, right? And they're targeting women who already have overcommitted schedules, asking them to do things with money they don't have, and kind of shift responsibilities onto support systems that don't exist. And we just are in this like endless cycle of kind of being socialized into living a life beyond any human's capacity. And then kind of dangled with this like non-solution that's like kind of packaged as if it were a solution, and it's unreachable at that, and then punished or made to feel guilty for not being okay, right? Or for not using that like, oh, just go have a spa day and like everything will be all right. That's what self-care has turned into. Like honestly, the self-care movement, it really like went awry when people realized they could make money from it, which is how most things go awry. I mean, my family will tell you I'm like 90% vegan. I say I'm vegan-ish, but I don't eat any of those Impossible Burgers now because once people realize you can make money off of it, I don't trust nothing. I don't trust none of them ingredients. And I say that because I see all my family here and we joke about that all the time. Sometimes capitalism takes something that's good and turns it into, something that does harm. And that's in many ways what the self-care movement has turned into. It turns into now a way of kind of guilting people, right? Of shaming people. Well, if you just took care of yourself, it would be okay. You'd be able to make it, right? Without actually having a real paradigm shift in how people live their lives, which really is what you need, right? That's what self-care actually is about. It's about shifting from living for other people, from draining all of yourself to fill other people up, right? To centering yourself, to living for you, to living in your own truth, right? Like that is what it means, right? To actually embody self-care, right? And I'm gonna tell you how I do it. Okay, so I do think, and I do still use the word, sometimes I switch it up, like talk about self-love or, just other ways, self-empowerment, okay? I do still use the word self-care too, even though I know it has its issues, but I want to really break down what I mean by that and what I do when I talk about kind of using self-care in my life, because like I said, I still think it has value in its roots, right, of what it's really supposed to be about. So the first thing that I do, right, when I'm talking about actually living, actually walking the walk, okay, is I shift my perspective from all the things that I have to do, Because that's usually what stresses us out, right? When we think about why you even need self-care, it's like, because I have an endless list of things I just have to do. Like, I have to work, I take care of my kids, I have to clean my house, I have to, commute 4 hours on the train every day. I have to, work out and be in shape and the list is endless of all. I have to pay bills, right? All the things that we have to do. But I shift my perspective. I don't live life by things that I have to do. I move that, right, to things that I choose to do, right? Because as my brother will say, all I got to do is stay black and die, right? There's nothing else in this world that I have to do. Everything else that we do in each moment is a choice. And I don't mean just changing your language. I mean actually changing the way that you go about deciding what you do throughout your day. So how I did this is just what worked for me, is I thought about what are the different roles that I have? What are the different areas of my life? What are the different things that are important to me? And there's an aspect of like myself, right? My own spirituality, my own like existence, my relationship with myself. There's an aspect of, being a mother, okay? There's a career part of me, right? There's a social relationship part of me. There's a kind of community impact, right? Whatever those things are for you, whatever those different spheres are for you. And then I gave myself permission to define myself in those different spaces. So I'm letting go of society's expectations, of my parents' expectations, of my coworkers' expectations. I don't care what kind of mother anybody else tells me I should be. I care about what kind of mother I want to be. And so I gave myself permission to define that. What are the things that are important to me about motherhood, or about whatever that domain is, right? And then when I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to do something, it's an evaluation of, does that align with who I want to be in this world, right? So I'm making the choice in each moment. Is this something that I'm choosing to do because it matters to me, because it's connected to how I want to show up? Or is it something that somebody's offering to me that I'm going to decide yes or no, right? That I'm going to say that I'm taking on, okay? I just read a post where somebody was kind of venting about the stresses of being a working mom, and talking about class projects in their toddlers. It's like a preschool, okay? And they were talking about how their class had some last minute assignment and they were really stressed out about it, and it was something that required them to like run errands and go get supplies, all this stuff, because their kid needed it the next morning. It was like, well, now I have to go do all these other things. Let me tell you how that, and I'm not passing any judgment on this particular mom because I don't even know this person, but how that does not align with the things that I care about as a mother. I care about being present, right, in terms of my child's school activities, but her actually, fully participating to the standards of the classroom in these different assignments, that's something that, for me personally, I don't hold value to. So I have showed up many a times to my daughter's school activities and have not followed the rules. Like, I apologize to the teachers. That wasn't something that I was choosing to do. We're going to do something different. We're going to participate in our way. And I'm teaching my daughter, it's okay to show up in your way, because the things that your teacher was asking me didn't fit into the life that I care about living for myself, right? And for you right now, because I'm in many ways crafting my daughter's life because she's so young, right? But really what I'm modeling for her is that you have the choice. You can decide what are the things you're going to choose to do. What are the things that you are going to opt into? And what are the things that you are going to say no to? And making sure that the way that you're making that decision is self-defined. That's what I say when I talk about self-care. I'm like, I'm centering me. I'm centering my own actual desires, right? Not the pressures of the world, right? Not even, it doesn't have to be like these like obscure pressures, not even like the asks of people around me. I'm centering how do I want to be? What do I want to do? Right? And how can I still do those things and kind of fit into the different structures around me? When you give yourself permission to say no and to show up as you are, you'll be surprised how creative you are. Because I hear these words like, oh, well, it was mandatory, or we had to do it this way. I think that there are always choices. I think that you always have options, right? You can decide, I'm not willing to take the consequence of not doing it a particular way, and that's absolutely your choice, but recognize that it is all a choice. If we live in this world knowing there's nothing that you have to do and everything that you are choosing to do, you structure your world, right? And then you can transform things that were stressful into opportunities. Now I don't take all those things on my plate as like draining from me, but as stepping stones to get me where I want to be, right? You give the choices that you're making meaning. You're saying, I'm choosing to do this right now, either because I immediately care about showing up in this way, or it's going to take me where I want to be. So it's not always like, this choice means, I enjoy this in this moment, right? Like, I lived on a student stipend of like $24,000 for 7 years in graduate school, right? So it's not like in every moment I was choosing to not make any money, right? And I knew that was what was required to get me the degree I wanted, to allow me the career that I wanted. So in that way, yes, I was choosing in that moment to do that. And empowering myself with recognizing that it was a choice made it so that it didn't feel that as stressful as it could have, as if I were framing it as something that I had to do. Because you can walk away from things that you are choosing, right? So in your life, think about all the things that you are telling yourself that you have to do, and ask yourself, why do I have to do this? What happens if I don't do this? Am I okay with what will happen if I don't do this? Right? And what other choice could I make so that I feel okay with my life, right? So the more that you take back kind of the reins, the more that you live life on purpose, the more that you are intentional with the things that you do in your day to day, the less it is draining from you, right? And that is real self-care, centering yourself. And then driving your life course, right? By design. Not by default, not like just kind of letting and taking in anything that people throw on your plate and just continuing to carry that load. No. It means that you will say no. And even better than that, it means that you will know when you're going to say no and why. So no longer are you just being dictated by guilt or pressure or shame, right? Or just like who happened to ask you something, when and how. You are being driven by your purpose. And in that way, right, you are almost by default energizing yourself, because the moves that you are making are in line with your calling. The times when we feel like all of those pressures on us are draining us are when we are doing things for other people that aren't actually energizing to our own spirits. You're pouring yourself all into everybody else and letting your own purpose kind of just be pushed to the background. No wonder it's draining. No wonder that is stripping you of your literal life, right? If instead you move for you, right, and are pulled by those things that you want to do in this world, right? And those choices that you are making about who you want to be, how you want to show up in those different areas that are important to you, that is by design life-giving. Like every Wednesday when I'm here with y'all, like I am so energized, and I could be beat tired, and it'd be like 7:55. Okay, y'all, I'm starting to feel it. Because I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm choosing to be here with you all. Because it's just so genuinely reflects the message that I am supposed to share with the world. And the things that set me free. Right? So that, yes, this is something that I do at 8 o'clock when I have 2 jobs and a child. And it doesn't feel like it's draining. Right? So when you live by your choices, again, rather than those things that you have to do, you are protecting yourself. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Okay? So that's, and the other part of this, this is an important part. The other part is this is recognizing that there are going to be times when even those things that those things that you do want to do, right? Those things that you would choose to do, you might be at capacity. Okay, so in those different spheres, the other part of what I did, yes, I talked about, okay, in this part of my life, I want to show up this way. In this part of my life, I want to show up this way. And then I literally drew a diagram, right, of like concentric circles with what was at the core, what was most important. And for me, and again, everybody can do this for themselves. For me, what was most important at the very center of my circle was my own peace. Because, and this is how you decide this. You think, okay, what if I don't have that, I can't do the rest, right? That's how you make the decision. If I don't have this together, I can't do the rest. So if I don't have my own peace, I cannot operate in the rest of my outer circles. So I started with that. My next circle is my family. And if my household is not together, I cannot go out into the world and share. And this is for me. I'm not saying for everybody else. So define it for yourself. But if my household is a wreck, then I can't go be the career woman that I am, right? So that's my next circle, right? And then from there, I built out, right? So when I'm deciding about, yes, can I say yes to something? I first have to make sure, okay, is this going to jeopardize my innermost circle? If it is, even if it reflects something I want to do in one of those outer spheres, the answer is no. Because you have to do this in a tiered way. I know I'm sharing a lot. I hope that you're following. You have to understand how to define each circle and then the relative importance of each of those spheres of your life and how they build on each other. So that if my peace is off, the rest of that shit shuts down. I'm willing to say no to any and everything else if my peace is off. And I've said no. I'm going to pause on that. I will be back. I have to take care of myself. I will be back. I've said this to the relationships with my family. I've said this to my boss. I've said this to, community organizations I've been volunteering with. Listen, I need to take care of something at the core right now. And you can tell them when you're going to be back, how you're going to be back, at what capacity. And it doesn't have to be quitting, right? It for me, what that looked like was like scaling back to the absolute bare minimum. I'm not doing nothing extra, right, until my peace is restored, right? And you can do that in any way you want to do, but it's just recognizing that there's going to be a central part and there's going to be things that you build on. And you have to understand your hierarchy. You have to understand what comes first and how to build outward into those peripheral circles. So y'all get that? You have to know what actually reflects who you want to be in each of those spheres and then the relative importance in your life. All right? Okay, this is my second tip in terms of real self-care. This one, I just got to be raw and real with y'all. Because, we hear about self-care being about spa days and getting your nails done and taking bubble baths and all these things that, feel good. Let me tell y'all the biggest part of self-care. Heal yourself. Take the steps to heal yourself. All of the pampering in the world is not going to last in terms of maintaining your peace if you are still... and I don't want to use the word broken, if you haven't healed yet on the inside. Wrapping something up in like a beautiful, plush robe and painting fingernails and getting massages, that's going to feel good in that temporary moment. But if you haven't done the work to heal on the inside, the traumas and the hurts and the pain, then it's gonna be fleeting. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of doing all those things on the outside? So your self-care it's not always gonna feel good. That's part of how the self-care movement has gone wrong, because it's been promoting this idea that you need to go out and do something to feel good. Like do something that you like, right? Scratch that. Self-care done right is doing things that are long-lasting, that can create or, provide long-lasting peace and stability. Sometimes that means going to therapy. If y'all have been following me for a while, for a long time, last year, my self-care time was what I blocked off to go to therapy. Did it feel good in the moment? No. Did I really want to be doing that every week? Like with the 1 hour I was giving to myself? No. Did I know I needed that other layer of healing before I could move, in a way that would actually open up doors for me? Yes. So every week I could have gone to get a massage and I would have been in the same level of pain I was last year. All right? So please take the time to heal. And heal yourself first. Don't be out there, giving everything for other people to heal when you messed up inside. Right? You're doing yourself and them a disservice. Because if you just took the time, it's because I hear especially parents, I hear this all the time where I have to give for them, right? I have to sacrifice myself for my kids. If you just even if you took 1 year, right? People feel like, oh, that's so much time. If you took 1 year to get yourself together and then were able to give them the rest of their life of a whole parent, can you imagine how much further they will be? Right? How much more they will get from you than to just tread yourself along. And really what you're doing, you're passing the stuff that you aren't healing yourself onto them to heal. And you're telling yourself, oh, well, I'm doing it for them. When you're setting them up, right, to have all of those burdens for themselves to now carry. So scale back, right? Stop convincing yourself that you're helping other people by avoiding those things that you need to deal with yourself and heal yourself. Go, and let me be clear, go to therapy. Okay? We all need therapy. It's like this world, the condition of the world is enough to know that we all need therapy. This is not about some individual deficit, right? We live in a world that bombards us with pain. And the ways that our human bodies and our minds are wired to respond to pain typically aren't good for us in the long run. So because we've been exposed to so much, and some of us have, been exposed, beyond the normalcy of pain to really traumatic stuff, and we haven't dealt with it. So please, right, take that time to heal. That is real self-care. Give yourself the opportunity to show up whole. Who knows what you can do? And this is really the power in it. Because do you see what y'all doing without healing? Y'all are living some badass lives. I have seen straight up superhuman shit. And this is with people who are, when you hear their stories, you be like, what? You making it with that as your story? Can you imagine? How much more you could do if you weren't carrying that weight with you? Give yourself the chance, to live free. If you even just think about, if you had to run a mile with a heavy weighted backpack, and you were doing it, you're like, oh, well, I'm actually running this mile. I'm actually doing this at a decent pace. I got an 8-minute mile on you. But what if you didn't have to carry that backpack? You could be in the Olympics. So stop holding yourself back and saying, okay, well, because I'm doing it, that means I don't need any help. Really, that's a testament to how much further you can go if you give yourself the chance. All right? So, okay, and here's the third one. And I hear this from critics of self-care all the time, right? And there was an article that went viral about this, how self-care isn't the answer because we don't have the support networks set up, right, for self-care to be possible. And I talked about it has definitely been commercialized. Don't get me wrong, like people are promoting self-care to be something that it's not. And here's the thing. We can recognize that we don't have those support systems set up for ourselves and just throw up our hands and say, well, forget it. There's nothing I can do to take care of myself. Or you can say, okay, I don't have the support to take care of myself. So my first task in my devotion to, in my commitment to self-care is to set up that support network for myself. Right? There's always something you can do. And it's not to say that it shouldn't already be there. You're right. Right? Like we as people need more support. We need more connection. We need more resources. There's so many things wrong. And when you get at different layers of marginalized identities and the intersections of those, absolutely. I'm not arguing against that. And if that's the world we live in, it is still your responsibility to set up a system for yourself so that you can survive. And not just survive, so that you can thrive. So that you can live as your whole being. And I know this intimately. Right? Because when Kokai passed, it was just me in Denver. Me and a 1-year-old daughter. Like, okay, in graduate school, working. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Right? And I twisted and bent and moved things around and met people and gave myself permission. I did all kinds of things to create the system that I needed to find peace. That could have meant, hey, I'm not going to be able to be present in this meeting, but I will video call in, right? And because I need the support of, having my daughter be able to sleep in the next room when I work, right? That could mean, hey, so I'm gonna need you to come here or my daughter's gonna come with us to the meeting. She's gonna play in the next room where I can still keep an eye on her. And we're gonna utilize this team to support me because that's what I need to be able to finish right now, right? That can mean even just giving yourself the permission, like I'm not going to cook tonight, right? Because I'm not able to do that. I'm asking for help, right? Because that's the other thing. We talk about not having support networks and then aren't willing to ask for help, right? So we're gonna have to drop the kind of the ego and the socialized messages we've gotten about having to do everything on your own, right? So being willing to say, I need help for this to be possible. There were times when my boss at the job I was working would invite me to things, and I literally said the only way that I can go is if childcare is included. Is there a way that you can bring somebody that has childcare? Right? I've dropped all kinds of ego, I guess, to say I don't have the money to pay for childcare to go to this. So if you want me to participate, there's going to have to be some way either that she can come with me. I've had my jobs pay and stipends for childcare for things because I was willing to speak up and say, listen, this is my situation. I want to be able to participate, but this event is at 8 o'clock at night and I have a daughter. So work with me to figure this out. Let's put our minds together and come up with a way that I can be supported, right? So that I can function and do those things that you're asking of me. All right. I have in every space created those supports. When I moved to New York, my daughter's in school 2 hours. No, my daughter's in school an hour away. So it's a 2-hour train ride for me back and forth. Right. I was like, all right, this ain't going to work. Like I have to find somebody to pick her up and bring her back home because I'm not going to be able to do both trips. Right. So my part of my self-care was finding those people who were going to be able to do that, right? Figuring out how can we carpool? I've been on the board here talking to the lead of the school here. Can you tell me where everybody in the school lives? Because I need to find somebody who lives near me who we could carpool together, work something out, right? Like, and it doesn't always, it's the things we hold ourselves back because we say, well, there's no way I have to do everything myself or I don't have the money to do things. I was bartering. I was like, when I was living in Denver, again, y'all, $24,000 was my stipend for 7 years. All right. I was bartering. Someone was doing my locks, and I was just helping her work through her business plan, because that was something that I could do easily, is think through those ideas. So you can talk to me. I'm going to organize through it for you, and you're going to do my locks, right? Set up those support systems and allow yourself to step outside of kind of that normal box, right? And give yourself permission. And most importantly, right, like drop your ego with it. Because yes, it's going to require that you ask for things. It's going to require that you are willing to tell people, this is my dilemma. This is where I'm at right now. I'm not flaking. I'm not coming because I want to flake. I'm not coming because these are all my responsibilities. Help me figure out how we can do this, how I can do this. You'll be surprised how many of, because, people tell me all the time, oh, well, you can't just tell a boss no. You don't have to just say no flat out. You have to say, I really want to do this. I'm really enthusiastic and energized and really care about this part of my job. Let me tell you what I'm struggling with. I have this, and this going on. Help me figure out how we can get it done. Usually when I tell my bosses that, they be like, oh, damn, I didn't realize you was even doing all that. Right? Usually that's the reaction that I get. I don't even understand how you carry this most time. Yeah, let's work together to try to figure it out. Right? And it might, that might not be your exact situation, but I'm just saying, in any avenue that you can, right? Be creative, right? In establishing the support that you need to center yourself. Do not just accept that this just is the way it is, and I don't have the support, and I have to do it myself, and nobody's here for me but me. And sometimes that means, number one, asking for help. Number two, accepting help, even if, you don't really feel that great about that. And number three, right, being willing to kind of do things differently than you thought you would have to do them for sake of you all making it through. So yeah, for a long time I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the mom that has home cooked meals. My mom's a caterer, for God's sake. I didn't even know what not making things from scratch meant. I'm like, what is this can? I didn't even know this came in a can. Okay. And I got to a place in my life where it was like, okay, so cooking every day is taking a lot of energy from me. So what else can I do? Right? How else can I set up my life so that all of us make it through? So being willing to shift, right? And be flexible. Be like, okay, this ain't working. We're going to have to do something different. Because if it's taken from my peace and sanity, it's not worth it. Right? That's too high of a cost. And ultimately, everything is crumbling. And at the end of the day, now I have frozen meals. Probably 80% of what I eat is frozen meals. And I feel totally okay with that. I feel at peace with that. When I cook, it's fun. It's on the weekend. It's us doing something special, right? And different. And yeah, that wasn't what my expectation was, but that's what I needed to do. And I don't carry anybody's shame or guilt or, anything anybody has to say. Okay, well, unless you about to come be my private chef, I really don't care. And that's kind of how you have to move through the world, right? That's kind of how you have to, I don't want to say ruthless, but just how you have to be comfortable and at peace with the decisions that you're making because you know why you're making them. For me, I'm comfortable with my choices because I know that they are for a particular purpose, and I know that purpose is in line with who I am at my core. The more that you do things as reactionary and as this impulsive kind of, well, I just have to because it's here, the more that you are doing things and adding stress to your life unnecessarily, accepting stress in your life unnecessarily. And yes, people are going to say stuff. People say stuff To me, people have opinions about how I parent, about how my career, about the split between how I parent and where I work, about how I live, about everything. People will always have opinions about you. They always will. So if that's going to be a constant, at least let me be peaceful. At least let me have my own joy and happiness. Right? If y'all going to talk regardless, I might as well do what I actually want to do. So that's my message for you all. I know self-care has been kind of washed up, right? And it has, taken on all these different forms, and you are probably hearing the messages of it being, let's just go to have a spa day and all those things. And for me, at its core, it is about centering yourself. And that comes, like I said, from my 3 points, right? That comes from making choices in your life rather than doing those things that you think you have to do. Choose to do what you want to do. And I don't mean just like want in the moment. I mean want for the greater life that you want to live, right? How you want to be in those different important spheres in your life, right? What kind of partner do you want to be? What kind of mother do you want to be? And I go so far as I literally have affirmations for this is how I show up in this part of my life, and I speak them into life every morning. Right? I speak them into life. And I check myself, like, is that how I'm showing up? I say, I have a deep, intimate relationship with my family based in honor, respect, and love. We work hard and play harder, taking intentional time to just be. And then I say, is that how I'm showing up in my family relationships right now? Let me tweak that. Let me figure out what I have to do differently, right? And when something comes my way, right, about that sphere, and I'm thinking, does this actually reflect my affirmation of who I want to be in my family sphere? And if it doesn't, I'm like, oh no, I don't even need to worry about that. I'm not even doing that. It's not even important to me. Right? So know who you want to be in those different important roles in your life. Understand the hierarchy of, okay, so what do I need to accomplish first for those other parts to even work, right? And then be willing to say no. Because when you are choosing, you're opting in and you're opting out. Heal yourself. Go to therapy. Know that those temporary, short-term, in-the-moment feel-goods that people are calling self-care are just that, temporary and short-term. If you want lasting peace, do the inner work that's required to maintain that. And then build those support networks that you need to be able to take that time for yourself. Right? If they don't exist for you, I understand that that's frustrating. I understand that that's, wrong, right? Because we all need that. We're hardwired for that connection. So we expect that level of dependability on one another. And it's unfortunate that it doesn't just come as, as a given. And if you don't have that, work on creating it. What can you do to create that? How can you ask for that? Right? Maybe from people that you wouldn't expect to be asking for, right? Drop the ego and ask and accept help. Y'all hear me? All right, y'all. So, as you know, if you've been rocking with me for a while, I am all about getting feedback, answering your questions. Let me know. Comment, DM me, send me a post on my pictures. Let me know what you want to hear about, what you want me to talk more about, how I can, relay those things that I do in my life to you all, because that's what Authentically Me is all about. It's about sharing those things that have worked for me, that have set me free, so that we all can be free together. I am developing a program. I promise it is coming. All right, I'm developing something for you all so we can learn those strategies to set and reach our life goals, right? To live that life that we've always dreamed of, okay? Make sure that you are following me, Authentically Me _live free on Instagram, Authentically Me Live Free on Facebook. I am at liveandlovefree.org. If you missed our newsletter, make sure that you sign up to join our community. I send out a free newsletter where I'm telling you all the tips, giving you kind of that insider love. So make sure that you join us there. And catch me here every Wednesday at 8 o'clock where you can get your life. All right, peace, y'all.